Okay, so this presentation is talking about replacing the heater switch, or potentiometer as Ford calls it, and or the air door actuator that changes the blend door that's in the heater box. And so here was my problem. Um, I was actually getting heat, but I wasn't getting a lot of heat. In other words, on a cold day, it was like no heat. On a kind of a warm day, it was heatish, but still not what I consider heat. And here's kind of the troubleshooting methods I took. Um, on the back of, on the firewall underneath the hood, going into the firewall, you'll see two hoses up here in the top left. And those two hoses go into the heater core. If both of those hoses are hot, that means water is circulating through the heater core, and there's probably not a problem with your heater core at that point. Your thermostat's open, so everything is going, the heat's going through there. And if you're still not getting heat, there's probably some other problem. Um, there's over here and on the bottom right is the heater box. This is just a picture of the heater box, and inside that heater box is a little door. And when you adjust the temperature over here on the left hand side using your temperature knob or whatever you have there, it could be a slider, it could be a knob, or it could be electronic, you're changing this door. You're telling the door to be partially open, partially, or all the way closed to the heater core, or maybe just letting in vent air from the outside. So that's basically what you're doing with this knob. And so I determined, because I had hot air coming in here, it had to be one of these two things. Um, Behind this knob, there's a potentiometer, is what it's called. Basically, it's also called the heat switch. And over here is an actuator. And this device is connected directly to this little knob over here. And when you turn the knob, this actuator, this device here, turns the door. And that's how it works. In the old days, it used to just be a vent, I think on a cable maybe or something like that, but these days it's electronic. So the parts to use, maybe depending on the failure, the potentiometer, or the piece that's behind the climate control, looks like this. This is a 96 Ford Ranger, and that's the part number. And over here on the right, this is the actuator that moves the door back and forth, and there's its part number. The tools I had to use was a flathead screwdriver, a 7mm socket, and a 1/4-inch socket. And I want to go back to the beginning here just for a second, because I've seen a lot of videos where people cut a hole right here in the heater box and then manually move the door themselves. But really, this is the way to actually fix it. Instead of cutting everything up, let's just fix it, right? Okay, so what happens, once again, you adjust the temperature control. That in turn changes voltage inside this door. It's called a blend door. That's what's down in this heater box. It's called a blend door. And you're changing that voltage or current, it's probably voltage, going into there, and in turn changing the door. And this is what that temperature control, that's what's behind this knob. I want to get into changing that. And then this thing is actually located behind the glove compartment. So the first thing we're going to check is the actuator that's behind the heater, or it's above the heater box behind the glove compartment. So it's located behind the glove compartment. And to remove the glove compartment is pretty easy. You open it, squeeze this side and that side at the same time, and it pretty much just drops down. You might want to empty it out first because it drops straight down and everything will just fall on the floor. I know from experience. And then the actuator sets right on top. You'll see it back there. It's pretty obvious, setting right on top of the heater box. Now to remove that actuator, first you unplug it, obviously, and there's a little tab right here. You just squeeze that tab, and pull the wiring out. And then the type I have, I hear there's some that have screws in there, and they are 7mm, and there's 3 of them. Luckily, I have the kind that just has tabs, and you can just pry it up. So I took a screwdriver, stuck it behind the tab on the left, pried that side up first. Same screwdriver, pried the right side up, and then the last tab is directly behind the plug. And you'll need a longer screwdriver for that, because what you want to do is put your screwdriver in here, and you're going to be wanting kind of leveraging it and pushing up on the back side of this thing, and then it just pops right out. So one thing to note when you do take it out is note the position of this. And it's actually probably a good idea to take a picture of it, because that's where the door is sitting. So remember, this thing turns the door. And if you replace this one, you're going to want to have the new one in the exact same position as this one is setting, so it fits down in there. See, 3 sides are flat and 1 side is curved, and it will only go in there one way. So you want to have it, if it's, mine was setting like this, so my new one had to be setting like that as well. Okay, you can test the actuator right now at this point. Just plug it back in, turn the key on, and if you adjust the temperature valve back and forth, or you should see this turn. It doesn't turn real fast. It'll turn kind of slowly, not all the way around. It just turns like this flat side will turn up here, and then this flat side will turn down here if you go the opposite direction. So it's one way to test it. If it's not working, it could be the actuator, or it could be the potentiometer behind the knob you're controlling it with. Now, the second part of this is the heater switch itself. And this may seem daunting, but it's actually pretty easy as well. So to get to it, it really sits behind this black console piece, and removing this is real simple. There's two 7mm screws you have to move first. Locate it right here at the top of these arrows. So you just take those out. And then really it pulls right off. There's clips that hold, a clip here and one here, and then 2 on the other side. Take your fingers at the top. You may have to start it with a screwdriver. But start on the top and just kind of pry it loose, and then it starts to pop right off. Those clips just come right out. It's really pretty simple, and that'll get you to this point. And I was able to take, the radio comes with it, everything comes with it. So you can see here where the clips go in, these little holes, right? And mine's a stick shift, so I was able to just set this on the gear shift while I was working the rest of the stuff. I don't know what you have, but maybe you can prop it on something or just take it all the way out, up to you. Okay, what you're after is to get this piece off, and this is all one piece. And there's 4 screws that hold these on. So it's 7mm. So you take these 4 screws out. There's 2 on this side, 2 on the left-hand side, 2 on the right-hand side. So take those out, and the piece comes out just as one big unit. Once you get it out, just unplug everything. You can't, when you put it back in, you can't unplug it really wrong, because it only goes in. Each one of these plugs are different, in other words. I did take a picture of it so I'd know, but really, like, this plug will not go into any other socket except that one. And they're all different. It's kind of weird. But maybe they have it like that for ease of wiring. Okay, so now we have it out, and here's the back side of that temperature control knob. It's the middle component right there, and that's the part you want to take out. That's a 1/4" screw right here. So you take that out, and it just comes right off. If you want to test it at this point, just kind of see, just for S&Gs, really there's 3 pins. Pin 1, pin 2, and pin 3. Pin 2 is what's called the wiper pin, and it varies the resistance. This is a big resistor in here. It's like a circle. It's a resistor. And this center pin is like a, well, what's on the other side of it is a wiper that changes the resistance value between pins 1 and pin 2, or pin 2 and pin 3. So if you want to test it, take a ohm meter, and between pin 1 and pin 3 there should be about 5 kiloohms, or 5,000 ohms. At least that's what I got on the good one. And that's between pin 1 and pin 3. Sorry, I got it wrong actually over here. It should be between pin 1 and pin 3. And then the resistance between say pin 1 and pin 2, or pin 2 and pin 3, should vary depending on, you can watch it change as you turn the knob if it's good. If it's good. Remember, this text over here is incorrect. The 5,000 ohms should be between pin 1 and pin 3, not pin 2. So that's just if you want to test it. If not, you can just replace it. So to replace it, 1/4" screw, take this out, and then you just kind of turn it a little bit to release. It's just these tabs are up underneath things, and it slides right out. And obviously, when you put the new one back in, you put it in the same way. Just turn it till it goes back in, put the screw back in, and plug everything back in. Like I said, it plugs in. It's pretty simple. Some of you got to push real hard, but you'll get it. Now you can actually test it. So put the key in, just like it's everything hanging out here. Put the key in, turn it on, not to ACC, but all the way on. So the fan, till you hear your fan come on. And you should be able to turn this knob and see, like we talked about before, back here. You should be able to see this thing turn. It beats cutting a hole in your heater box and putting duct tape all over it. But the whole job itself does not take long at all. The parts are pretty inexpensive. So let me go back here to the beginning and tell you about the parts here real quick. This part, the potentiometer small piece, was $29. That's at the dealership. And this part over here was $39. I didn't need this one, so I took it back. And that was at O'Reilly's. This one was at a dealership, and this one was at O'Reilly's. You can probably get them at a junkyard too. But that's pretty much it. And this fixed my heating problem. So it had nothing to do with the heater core, thermostat, or any of that craziness. Remember, you want to go this direction if both of these hoses are hot. That means you have heat or hot water going to your heater core, and it should be going into the cab. If it's not, then you more than likely have a problem with this door right here. And the two pieces that control that door are the actuator and the knob here. So I hope this helps you. I hope I can put this in YouTube right to make you find it. Anyway, good luck. Thanks.